who knows what's going to happen, right?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Science! Now prepare to experience the most outrageous man on radio.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road. It's the best. New, real, cool.
The station for more fun in the sun.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, boy. I'll tell you, this is not the station for more fun in the sun today. I have a headache behind my right eye. Right? And who knows what's causing that? A tumor or something. But no, I woke up at 10:30, 11 o'clock. I went to bed early. So, I mean, it was raining, and then it was thunderstorming. And finally I guess it was towards midnight, or it could have been towards 11:30. Depends on what the time was. Who knows? I went upstairs, and my collection containers from the leaky roof in the attic were getting filled up. And it was coming down like you can't. It was really, literally raining cats and dogs. Where are those cats when you need them? And my D-cell, 2 D-cell powered, like kind of handheld siphon pump that siphons the pump out of the things that catch the water that's leaking from the roof. And then I pump that into a bucket and pour it out the window like some medieval person. Part way through the process, and these things were filling up pretty big, pretty tall, and it just died. And I tried everything, and I thought I had backup power or batteries, but they are batteries. D cells. It takes 2 D-size batteries or 3 double AAA batteries, like put in this weird container type thing. But I don't know if the motor burned out or if the batteries died. So I'm going to have to waste money. You know how expensive D-size batteries are. Like 2 of them now, you could pay like $7-8 for 2 batteries. It's ridiculous. Because you got to get the good ones. You can't buy the Dollar Tree batteries. They last for like 10 seconds in anything. Then they even run flashlights. So I'm up there, and so I just came down thinking, okay, I got some, but I didn't get the stuff above my bedroom. And I just went up this morning. I thought, well, maybe I'll give the motor a rest or whatever. Maybe their energizers, the batteries will get a little power, but it's just like flipping the switch was nothing. And I kick myself because time after time I said I needed to get a backup one of these pumps. It's just a handheld pump that costs $19.95. But you got to order it. It's available from Amazon. I highly recommend having one if you have some kind of... Well, it's a good thing you just use to pump gas into your car or something weird like that. Pump water out of a clogged drain or something. You know what I mean? It's an interesting device. Be that as it may, so I went up this morning to try it, and the water's way up. So if we get... let's skip this to...
The Weather Watch forecast.
Let's see the change here if we get up. Oh, man. It's supposed to start raining within the hour. See, I'm just afraid it's going to overflow. It's a 90% chance of rain today. 10% tomorrow, but 100% Friday, 80% Saturday. and the temperatures on the, if you want a little advance,
Weekend weather.
on Saturday and Sunday nights, it's supposed to get down to 43. I mean, I think the plants and stuff I have, things are growing really well. The rat problem's out of control. I put a bunch of rat control measures out there, including mouse traps. There's all kinds of little tiny ones now. They must have had babies. And then there was fights. Yesterday was like a weird day. Anyway, that was your
The Weather Watch forecast.
or rather, the Weather Watch, not your. So I'm kind of tired, even though I got back to sleep and just woke up maybe, I don't know, within the past half hour. I'm groggy. There's the coal trucks. And I created this graphic. Coal trucks. Graphic. I don't know. My body's in pain. Why are you watching? And why are you doing this to me?
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Oh, boy. Ay vey. As they say. As he slurps his coffee. Forgive me. Coffee's really hot. It's just straight black coffee. I had some aches and pains in my lower abdomen here and there, but, I was lifting bags of concrete, bags of soil, bags of rocks, shoveling. I was doing a lot of work outside, and I shored up some holes where the rats were going, but it rained like a mother. So while I did that around 10-ish, 11-ish yesterday in the morning, the rain didn't start till 10-ish. At night, that was 12 hours. I wasn't using the closest hardware store doesn't have that cement in the red bag that's like Quickset. They have Quickcrete, which is just the brand name, but that stuff takes like 24, 48 hours really So it rained so hard last night that I've got a feeling I'm just going to see gray goo on the areas where I put the cement, because it was a little bit of wet to begin with. Oh, man. I'll tell you, if it's not one thing, it's another. What's the title of this show? I forget. It rained heavy and my battery pump died. And then under the chat I put, I probably should be wearing a raincoat right now. Well, this ROCKFLUX hat doubles as a rain hat. But I may have to walk a mile to the grocery store to get batteries that may not even work, because this may not be a battery problem. That pump may just have died or clogged somehow or whatever. I don't know. I brought it downstairs. I mean, this is like the middle of the night, midnight, and I'm like, put it in the tub, and I'm trying to run force water through it, and like put my hand, so my hand's not touching the nozzle, but I could blow air through it, and it seemed like there was a flow of air through the thing, so it's not like there was something clogged it, because you do get some scum that comes down just inevitably from all the patches I've made. But like I say, it started working, it was fine, but there was a lot of water, and maybe it just burned out this tiny little motor. It's a 1995 thing. They probably came from China, I mean, I got to admit, it got me through the entire winter. It's May 4th, Wednesday, hump day, in the calendar year 2022 in the former United States. And I'll tell you, it got me through. I think I bought that thing back in January, maybe earlier or something, whatever. So I can't complain for 1995. It literally saved the second floor from getting ruined, But if it rains heavy, while I'm doing this show within the next hour, which it's supposed to, 65% chance, which, I could see that going up. 65 is almost, it's like 100%. When it's over 50%, you're pretty much screwed. So that was my nightmare, last night,
This is a nightmare. Must be a nightmare.
It must be. It must be. It must be.
This is insane.
No.
This is a nightmare. Must be a nightmare.
It must be.
Oh, no.
I'm groggy enough to semi-laugh about it. The morning show, powered by Tony Caravan Live. With the hat. These hats are really nice hats. Be nice. Just be nice. I have been nice. I was trying to get back to sleep, and I was going through all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, the more, I don't know, the more the more things just become more confusing, right? Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is chaos almost in many ways. It's a classic thing. You ask a question and it just opens up. You get an answer and it just opens up a whole series of more questions. It's almost like the child when it keeps saying, why? But why? 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 That's where my head is right now. Why? And there's people out there that they think they got problems with this.
Your papers, please.
It's like, forget about that. I don't, I know that the outside world, because this in my world, and welcome to it,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Is a, surrealistic nightmare, as my book I showed you yesterday. I just hope that it's as simple, the solution is as simple as a D-sized battery. An overpriced, nonetheless, D-sized battery. I hope this headache goes away after drinking some coffee. I mean, I hadn't eaten in 15 hours. That's how long I just had an apple, a Granny Smith little apple. A little pain on the left side. I don't know. It can't be the kidney I've been on like a gallbladder perfect choline diet, eating like the healthiest no, I don't think anybody in the world eats as healthy as I do. Except maybe that guy Sinclair who's trying to turn back the aging clock or something, Guy's like 50 something and he looks like he's in his 20s. He wrote a book on it. I think he's on Harvard. I think they have a podcast, him and his buddy, the guy he wrote his book with. But anyway, yeah. So that's that. That's the thing. It's just crazy. And look at those things go up the street that fast. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I'm telling you, that's not 25 miles an hour. This is 25 mile an hour speed zone. So if it wouldn't have rained like a mother, I mean, it was thunder and lightning. I'm on the third floor. I'm like waiting to get, and I mean, I would have felt yesterday was a good day of accomplishment. I had bagged rock, bagged soil, bagged concrete. I got some tree and shrub soil to put underneath that Christmas tree thing I described a day earlier where rodents had pretty much hollowed it out. I figure the tree's dead. But just for the sake of it, I just filled it shovel by little shovel, gardening shovel by gardening shovel with this tree and shrub formulated soil, and put it in there as firmly as possible without over firming it, giving the roots a chance to grow and whatever. Watered it, Of course, it got watered like hell last night. And then surrounded the entire thing with this lava rock. Saw another little baby mouse. They're cute. They're not mice, though. They're rats. But they look like mice. But I realized they're rats. But they're cute. They're confused. And one of the big rats was like attacking one of the smaller ones. But yet it was leaving one of the other ones alone. Could be a male-female thing. Like that. I don't know. And then at one point, after I came back in the house after being out there for like 2 or 3 hours doing yard work, just organizing, I'm at work, and there's only one portion of my yard I haven't like really cleaned, down to the bone area, which I have to make sure there's nothing hiding over there or any paths or holes. But I came in, and like I said, if I'm looking right now at my kitchen sink, to the left is the window that I could see the bird feeder clear. And I noticed that out of the side of my eye that there's some activity. And there were 2 crows, like fairly decent-sized crows, not giant, but I mean, adult crows more or less. And they were fighting it out. It wasn't a mating thing or anything. I mean, they were fighting it out on the sidewalk. And eventually they flew off, and one returned, like, kind of, I guess, proud or something. But I mean, that was like a battle. I saw 2 battles yesterday. A battle between a big rat and a small rat, and 2, this is crazy. I'm in the middle of like some, like even the animals are turning on each other now. I think that's like a friend of mine was sending me something about before when I was talking about that dizziness thing I had or something. And he was trying to, relate it to some sort of, I don't know if it was atmospheric, barometric pressure or magnetic field or whatever. But I mean, the whole thing is, all those things are true. We've this magnetic field and what's going on with the sun on other planets as well. That's why all these people who are trying to make this man-made nonsense talk doesn't fly, right? Carry water or hold water, whatever they say. I don't want to think about the word water, though. Because these anomalies and all these occurrences are happening on other planets. It started, going down as far back as Pluto, working its way to Uranus and the other gas giants. And I believe I saw something written in a paper or something, or there's somebody trying to get published, something about Mars, thing changes on Mars. Coal country. It's not even coal country. That's the funniest thing. This is like steel. This was steel country. Yeah. Though it's interesting on my deed, they made a big stink at settlement. I wish I could pull out my deed. I forget where it is. But there's a big stink about them having the mineral rights to this area. So I think this house is situated on coal. My thought is that, assuming that we don't get that cataclysm that I often talk about, which I haven't talked about a while, and I'm not going to get in today. Assuming the sun doesn't nova sometime in the next decade, decade or so. And they've been tearing down houses here. And they apparently have some kind of budget to do it, obviously, because this city is bankrupt. It's an old industrial town. City. It is a city. But they've torn down all these old houses. Now, granted, these houses were condemned type of properties, abandoned condemned type properties. But maybe 1 or 2 of them could have been, this old house, back to life. And my theory on this whole thing is that in the short term, yeah, it's like cleaning up, and that's what people have bought into. Cleaning up clean up America, right? By demolishing all this stuff and just leave the decent things standing. But I think in the long run, what they really want to do is they hope that eventually they'll just bulldoze down this whole area when the time comes. So wherever those coal trucks, that one had to be going 60. Wherever they're coming from, and I don't know where they're coming from, how far away. But I go, where the hell's this coal? Because but I don't know the area all that well. I mean, beyond the areas I've lived and when I used to drive. But I think they're just, that plan is to just keep feeding those coal plants, and eventually the closer they get where they could mine coal, the better, right? And so this is part of their, couple decades from now, this house, this whole street will be bulldozed, and this will just be mining operations. That's another reason why I don't buy into the 2030 thing, because, after all, the Davos set itself, no matter what the PR that comes out by like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and all these guys, these people are all industrialists. Like, people forget that. They're industrious and billionaires. Even Elon Musk, he comes out like he's trying to be the ultimate sustainability guy and all that kind of stuff, right? But, the one people forget, what's he putting in his rockets to blast those things off, right? What combustible material, right? No, they're industrialists, and they're feeding us all a big line. When it comes down to it, they've got a plan, and it's a long-term plan. It's kind of like the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party. They have these 5, and then they have these 50-year plans. And believe me, the Davos set, the World Economic Forum, has like a 50-year plan too. So they've got their so-called 5-year plan, which is really 2030. Because like I was saying, 2030 may seem mentally to you to be like, well, it's 2022, so it's 8 years off. Well, first of all, no, we're halfway through the year, so at best it would be 7.5 years off. But like I say, in order to do the things they want to do, to have these changes made by 2030, they would have to have this stuff done within the next 5 years, right? Everything's got to be in place, If you're going to have factories creating sustainable this, that, the other, or blah, 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 you're going to have infrastructure created and operational within the next 5 years. So they have their 5-year plan and they have their 50-year plan, and I've got a pretty good feeling that the 50-year plan of the CCP and the 50-year plan of the World Economic Forum is pretty much linked together and is probably one and the same. It's just like these wars you got to wonder about. You don't know anything. Everything you know is wrong, and at the very least, you don't know what you don't know. And I just can't imagine why this show isn't popular, and it's why I put all these things up there. But I guess it's because of the YouTube folks. I've hit it. I've struck the chord. You see? I figured it out, right? And they just come at me every way they can. I'm convinced of it. Paranoia is just an extreme state of awareness. Right? Of course, I wouldn't call myself paranoid about anything. I'm just trying to get by. And like I said, and be nice and tell the truth. I'm just trying to be a truth sayer. Just, speak truth to the power and give you guys advice and test products and stuff. Give you shirts and stuff to wear that could maybe wake people up instead of you having to go to rallies or protest or to tweet your thumbs off, A frickin' app. $50 billion on an app while 40,000 people a week are dying unnecessarily in the U.S. of preventable things. Imagine if he would have just done that. Musk, I'm talking about Twitter. Yeah, I mean, think about this. You know, you see what I mean? They're industrials. That's all they are. They're like the industrialists of the turn of the you know, the 19th century. You know, same thing. And if you think about it, what are they doing? They're doing the same stuff. You know, it's all cars. You know, the cycle. It's funny. It's like, you know, they're building cars, right? Energy, transportation, right? Flying, you know, and then there's disease like the 1919. I mean, it's like a repeat of 100 years ago. Everything that's gone on in the 21st century is a repeat of the early 20th century, right? And you could probably go back century after century after century and see the same thing. We humans are a strange breed of, you know, characters. I'll tell you. See, this is a whole different look for this hat, too. And I managed to get the headphones on, and it looks less like the other day. It looked like a wax, you know, women Air Corps, you know, hat. You know, today it looks more just like a, you know, the classic fedora or something. I don't know what they used to call hats. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. This has been, what a long, strange trip it's been. What a long, strange trip it's been. The morning show, powered by Tony Caravan Live. My vlog. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So.
The future. He came from the future.
Yeah, that's something. Boy, did I make a mistake. He came from the future. I just came to the wrong place. You know, time travel, man, gets screwed up sometimes. It's just not that precise. Why did I mess up? I got to put in my little log book of garden stuff. Last night's ridiculousness. So Tuesday, 70% clouds. Overnight. Storms. Heavy rain. See, I'm keeping a daily record for I got 2 years in this book, and I'm pretty sure I have enough. Yeah, I have enough to get through this year. And that way, I've said this before, but that way I have evidence, because, see, the problem with digital and the cloud is once it goes up there, they can alter it. And they do. And I've already caught them so many times that it's pathetic. And, you know, and now with stuff like deep fakes and all this latest AI stuff and everything. And I know in my book Codex, I mean, when I say AI stuff, I don't want to sound like somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about. No, I mean, talking about GPT-3, possibly we're already into GPT-4. These chips we have right now are so freaking fast. And if you've seen some of the artwork, which I talked about in a previous show, that AI is actually creating, that it's, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it was a mind blower for me. It actually, I admired it. I admired some of these original things, and they were created by a sentence, you know? You know, and I went through that and I showed you images of them. I mean, this stuff was really out there. It'd be stuff that if I went to an opening at a gallery, I'd be admiring the pieces. And if I were, was in a position where I had the money to do it, I probably would have walked home. I would have purchased or bid on a piece. By AI. Crazy. Because for years, for 20 some years, they've had printers now that, that laser and like inkjet printers type of things that use different inks that print on canvas. So you can create something, a kind of a portrait or some original art graphically on a computer and have it printed out in what they call large format, on canvas, professionally framed, and put on your wall. And the average, person would look at that and go, wow, that's an interesting painting, That was like 20 years ago. Imagine what this like current AI's it literally, you have to call it creativity. It shakes you to the bone because it goes against everything we thought. And I know this is a little repetitive of what I talked to before, but so many people have tried to say that what makes us human and separates us from the other living creatures on the planet is our creativity. They try to define man, Homo sapiens sapiens, whatever, as when we created artwork, original art type of thing. Well, AI is already creating original art. It's interesting. The question is, when will it just do it on its own? Right? And that's another thing why I think most people have it all wrong with AI. Is like I think AI is more following the be nice approach than the Terminator approach. You don't have to fear AI as like taking over the planet. What you have to fear AI is basically replacing humanity. It's like these biological units, right? What I call this android body and these bioelectric brains. We've kind of like, we blew it. We didn't reach our full potential. And so these, machines in effect are basically going to the next level. I saw a bit of some girl talking about that, how we're already like, I don't know if she was used the word cyborg or something like that. But I mean, the idea that whether you carry around a smartphone with you nonstop or wear an iWatch or some other company's thing, you don't have to have an implant in you. If it's in your pocket, if it's on your wrist, it's on you. It's a part of you, right? And I still can't, it's still too much of a coincidence that things I say on this show, not that appear typed or in chat, some loudmouth out there. I don't know who would be loudmouthing. It's like I don't think the bus comes till 10 to 7, not 10 to 6 or whatever. I don't know. You can't hear it, but I can. People just have a casual conversation. Do you have to shout? But what I'm saying is that, and I've kind of lost my thought because of that aggravation of whatever was going on. Try not to be aggravated. Duh. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I was talking about AI and be nice and how we blew it. And things like that. We haven't reached our full potential, so these machines, in effect, will, inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth. Maybe meek was mistranslation, and the machines will inherit the earth, right? Hey, I guess I'm wrong about the bus. I guess this time of year in the summertime, it comes at 10 to 6. Used to be, I swear it was 10 to 7. Maybe it's 10 to 6. Well, there's the bus. On time, 5:49 a.m. according to the atomic clock, 5:51 according to the clock on my wall. Split the difference, it's 10 to 6. Yeah. I hope it's just the batteries, because you should see the thing above my bedroom. I use cat litter boxes. Like, so imagine a tray, that's about that high. Well, the water level is about this high. So if the rain starts within, you know what I mean? I don't have much room. Now, there was a remote possibility, that a friend of mine said they might stop down this morning because they were going to drop something off. But I doubt if they would leave before 7 and they were going to stop somewhere. That would be, they're about half hour, 45 minutes away, 8-ish. By then, I mean, that water would be, I don't know. I need to go up there with like a cup, and like, you know what I mean? Take a cup and take the water out of the bucket by hand, glass by glass.
Really funny. Really funny.
No, it's not. It is not funny.
Oh, no.
You're right. It's not funny. But I got to laugh at it. What are you going to do? Right? Like I say, get in a fetal position and rock. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's the same old thing.
This is insane.
I mean, I could put that on loop like I used to do. When I used to get in, when I was criticizing the absurdity of the political, the socioeconomic geopolitics of the world and the collapse of Western civilization. But things on that front have gotten so out of control. Now the new thing is the leak from the Supreme Court, so that's compromised, and people are talking about this, that, the other. And it's like, don't they get it? There's no salvaging this system, and that our best bet is like, real problems are like what I'm dealing with is like, keeping the water from getting down to my bedroom, keeping rodents out of my yard and house. I mean, it rained so hard last night. Those things their burrows must have been flooding, So I don't know. I just hope that my basement is shored up enough that there's nothing can get in, That's my summer job. And then you got to fight bees. Yes, after I was doing my stuff, I sat in my chair just for a while. The sun wasn't out, but I just sat to relax for a second and just enjoy, look around the yard and enjoy it. While I'm out, those things are never around while I'm there. It's just the birds. And the birds are happy when I'm around because they know those things won't be around. And I was just kicking back to enjoy, and I looked up, and in between my two outdoor speakers, there's, my garage has just a slight little overhang, right? Not much, the way a roof does. but I wouldn't, it's not like a soffit or whatever you call that thing. You know, it's just it's short and it's kind of semi-rotted. And so I looked up there and there was like a wasp trying to grow one of those wasp nests, which normally doesn't happen because the birds usually eat those things. I never knew that, but and so I don't know if it's too early in the season or not, but anyway, so I'm going to have to do something with that. I don't want to mess around with that. And those things are really like determined if they've established that that's where they want to build their nest. Well, they can. It's in between my speakers, and it's where I sit in my chair. I can't have a wasp nest above it. And it's next to my mini greenhouse. So I've got to like try to get some like 100% silicone, but I've got to wait till things dry out. I can't do it today because I do have some caulking, but the caulking I have is not water, like the type of stuff you can use in a water environment. See, some caulk, there's some 100% silicone caulk that I've purchased before. It costs like, it's like less than $7 for a little tube. I don't need much of it. That can be applied in damp and wet situations, right? It's not that spray can liquid rubber, that stuff. I tried that. That doesn't work for me. No, this is just regular, the real thing, stuff that's been around for years, And what I need to do is I need to put that there, and then if you take that mesh tape that some people use for drywall instead of the paper, they use like a mesh, and then put that mesh down and kind of use a putty knife or or a drywall type of thing, and then just squeeze that in and then cover that with a little more of that silicone or any kind of caulk. Seal that whole area there, and then paint over it with some exterior white paint and just make it a smooth surface where there's nothing, and that should solve the problem. And if it doesn't solve the problem, I'll have to resort to putting a little bit of bug spray up there, which I don't have currently because I've used it. And I don't like to use it, but at least I know that spot. If I just put a spray or two of it, just underneath that soffit area, it's not like it's going to get into the ground or anything. It's it's not that far from my garden. It's more or less the patio, what I call a patio. I built a patio out of like layers and layers of rocks over a couple of years with some indoor-outdoor rug as the covering of it. It's interesting. And it kind of almost gets like mossy and stuff like that in the wintertime and the fall or stuff like that. But once the UV rays hit it, because that area gets so hot back there, right? That the UV rays just kill everything. So anyway, that's just me, I'm just babbling, getting myself into...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Some mind, some weird mindset. Just keeping you company. It's getting daylight out there. These shows usually don't, as a free ad for FedEx. I literally spent like every cent I had yesterday. I used like 3 different cards to get these various items to what I was hoping would have been a semi-completion, or at least take me to the next level for another week till I could get another batch of stuff. And yeah, that rain last night, I'm anxious to see what kind of destruction, what havoc it wreaked, when I put out some bird seed today. But at least if I could keep these rodents and stuff. See, I put out like potato flakes, which they supposedly eat, and different things that, like I said, I'm starting to reach the point where it's not exactly humane. Things that kind of make them that they might get sick on if they eat and stuff. And I did put a couple mouse traps, I have to admit, with some peanut butter on them. But nothing, nothing, none of that stuff. And the rain would have probably set off everything. I mean, it was raining. My security lights kept coming on, because it was such a torrential downpour. And I have like 3 or 4, I guess there's 4 motion detector, like really pretty bright lights too back there. And those things were just coming on and off and on and off because of the, major, rain coming down. Look at these trucks returning, getting ready to get filled up again, I guess. See? This up and down, just to get paid by the load or something. I don't know. I don't really care. We're a carbon-based civilization and we're carbon-based organisms. And, I think I think the people who are talking out pushing this the most are just industrials who really don't care because their companies couldn't exist without it. Even the ones that try to say, oh, we're green and sustainable. It's like, you're not really. You're still getting your parts from certain places. You're building plants. See, what they don't talk about is they say, okay, well, this plant here is going to be totally sustainable. But they don't talk about like the concrete, the digging, the excavating machines, the dump trucks, the trucks like that, carrying in and carrying out, the concrete mixing trucks. These things don't run on batteries. Do you understand see, my head's on a totally different level, and that's why a lot of people just don't get it when I talk, and they just like, ha, 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 what does that idiot know? Right? Because it never dawned on them. They've never seen an excavator. A lot of these people don't even know what a skid steer is. You know what I'm saying? Let alone they've never seen. That's why I put this thing. They've never seen those giant coal trucks, giant dump trucks. And these things are big. And they have bigger ones when you go to where they're actually the mining operations are. You don't see those on the roads. The tires, you could take a guy 6'5", and he could be standing next to a tire, and like that, and the tire's taller than him. We used to call them ukes when I was a kid because I grew up in the coal region. And we used to go out there, drinking out in the. Out by the coal areas and stuff, right? And you'd see one of those things crossing a road. You'd have to watch out, because if you, its tire would just crush your car, like as if it was going over nothing, So yeah, they're like those things. The things I'm talking about are probably 4 to 6 times as big as these coal trucks that you see going up, and those things are pretty darn big. Yeah, you can't imagine the size of those ukes. And then the cranes and the things, the dump trucks, the bulldozers. I just saw spinning over on my thing. So the type of stuff I talk about, it's like, yeah, in one respect, it's over the head of some people because they just don't have a firsthand experience. And that's why I'm trying to tell you everything I talk about is pretty much firsthand experience. And hopefully, by sharing these things, that will help you not have to go through the agony that I've gone through. If you have a leak in your roof, put down cat litter boxes. They'll catch the water, and then get one of these 1995 little, siphon pumps that run on 2 D-side batteries, but get 2 of them, right? I wish there was a way I could rig it to plug in, but if the motor's shot, I'm screwed. So you want to have a backup. Always have a backup for your backup, It's like you want to have a contingency for your contingency. So technically you need 3 of everything. I hate to say it, if it's what we call mission critical, That's why I look at this, these wars, this conflict, whatever you want to call it, that's going on over there that we know nothing about, really. We know nothing about it, really. We don't understand what happened in the Donbass region. We don't understand anything about, these various groups and factions and stuff. It's like you don't know what you don't know. Don't pretend you do. Well, I watched such and such a network and they were talking about it and they had a map and they had an ex-general, an ex-4-star general. Yeah, the guy's basically, why isn't he working anymore? Right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a paid spokesperson. He's paid to say something, he was hired because he agrees with the narrative of that particular broadcast station. It's owned by a particular corporation. It has a narrative, is pushing a narrative, and that narrative ultimately is being pushed by this corporatocracy that's all part of this organized crime syndicate called the World Economic Forum. It's as simple as that. It's not that complicated. It's not hidden from you. They're doing this in plain sight. But to think that all right, you don't know. I don't know. Okay? The only thing you know is you don't know what you don't know. That's the true statement. And in many cases, everything you know or think you know is wrong. And it's just it's like game over for us, the common guy, And when I say common man, you could be making 6 figures, 7 figures. You could be making $1.2 million and you're on your way. It's game over within the next year or two. Coffee does help wake you up. I got to admit. Yeah, the outside world, camera 2 view outside. I got to get that back camera set up. I'm debating on whether or not I should put my one security camera from the front or if I should buy another security camera. But man, I'll tell you, I have enough cameras, and hooking the cameras and these smart devices up are a royal pain, are a royal pain. And it's, because you've got to hook them up to you. First of all, it's like all got to be Wi-Fi enabled. And then you have to have, and then it's verified, even though this Wi-Fi is like Wi-Fi is insecure by its very nature. Okay? Because it's through the air. Anything through the air can be, captured. All right? So, especially in the age of like quantum computing type of chips and stuff, there's no such thing as security, right? It's like those VPNs. People think they're high. It's like, well, if you want to believe that you're hiding yourself, like you're pretending you're using the internet from Czechoslovakia instead of Poughkeepsie, more power to you. They know where you are. You fool. All right. There's so many ways that you are tracked and you are profiled. So what looks weird is that when you are a blip on a screen, right? Within this, omnipotent, more or less, computerized network of monitoring, right? The total information awareness omnipotence, not some spiritual, religious omnipotence, but this total information awareness, all right? It's constantly aware of everything because storage is so easy, and they've got these massive, underground, storage places and salt mines, server farms. But the point is, so everything is known by the machine, as Pink Floyd called it. And so here you are profiled to the point of, basically Minority Report, future crime, Philip K. Dick type of sci-fi world. That's the world we live in. That's what Facebook and Google and all these social media companies did. They did the NSA's, CIA's, and DIA's job for them, right? They put together these profiles that were just like so ridiculously detailed that it was like beyond the wildest dreams of these people in these bureaucratic government organizations. And so now all that information is, the storage is capacity and chip capacity have shrunken down so small, right? And money's no object because they don't even have to print money now. It's just digital ledgers. So they just create this, money. It's not money. Just they can buy whatever they want to just by transferring digital funds. It's not, that's why the whole crypto thing is kind of a joke. People think, well, this decentralized. I watched something yesterday, Jack from Twitter, Jack and Elon Musk and somebody else, and they were like touting the benefits of decentralized and the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, you guys just don't get it. I'm getting a spinning, my head froze up, and I'm getting a spinning thing over on my channel because I'm talking about this stuff. Which is totally weird because I'm broadcasting at kilobytes per second is like 2,900. You may or may not have seen my head freeze, but that's like there was no grounds for it other than they don't like what I'm talking about. Well, these guys were talking about this stuff and they're like true believers in as if, this cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is like the ultimate thing that's going to keep people free and decentralized. But what I'm trying to say is that in these demographic profiles that they have of you and this predictive which is focused now on predictive behavior, even in its innocence, right? The idea of just trying to sell you that battery, for example, all right? When you go somewhere, you think of something. I started to talk about that before, and that's where I lost the trend of thought. I was saying, like, I see things in my recommended list that I just talk about on this show, that I don't type, that aren't in the titles, that aren't in the chat, that aren't in anything. But it was something that I may have said in passing, and it comes on a recommended list, or I get an email about buying it. Do you understand? And this is talk, So do you understand everything that goes through this system? Now it's saying no data. Everything that goes through this system is like, it's total information awareness. So you got this VPN, you pay a couple bucks a month. You think you got a deal and you go, it's cheap. Why not? You don't understand what that does. It's worse than not having it, because it puts a flag up. What's Joe Blow doing in Czechoslovakia? Do you see what I mean? Because see, they know where you live. I haven't gotten them lately. I don't know if it's because I was talking about it, because I certainly didn't like sign up to, like not get it. But I was getting every month these things from Google that was telling me everywhere I've been with the address tied into a Google map. Imagine that. No matter what phone or what I was using, and I don't even have an active iPhone, but if I was carrying something that had Wi-Fi or I was at a place, it was just freaky, right? So they know all this stuff about you, and you think you're hiding, and you're not. And then they have this predictive behavior where a lot of human people like to think, well, then it can't figure out my mind. I'm an individual. I'm a human being. I'm not, Talk to a psychologist. Talk to a psychiatrist. All right? The human brain, the bioelectric brain, I mean, consciousness and stuff, outside. Read my book Codex, and all that stuff. But just watch what AI is doing right now. And then just look around at people and see the similarities, okay? Why do a lot of people buy the same kinds of food and have the same kinds of tastes? And your first response would be, well, I don't like a certain thing, but a lot of the people do. Yeah, okay, there's differences. But I mean, generally speaking, all right, what most humans respond, right? It's like the Pavlovian dog thing, all right? Most humans respond to certain things. And the idea is that the powers that be, they're aware of this, and it's all turned over to machines that are just processing this stuff in server farms. And they've gone beyond just collecting data on you, monitoring you, worrying about your VPN and internet usage. They've already leapfrogged into predictive behavior. They want to know what you're going to do next week and next year. And based on your history, which they have, right, have put together profiles of all this information that was shared, and whether you shared it or not, the fact that you were identified in somebody else's Facebook picture or somebody else's Instagram picture or referred to in a tweet or in a website days, right? Or like I'm saying, my voice going out over this thing, voice recognition technology, or anything you say on a phone call. Oh, no, they can't do that. Of course they can. In fact, that's old technology. Right? When you go in Walmart used to be set up. When I was in Walmart at one point, I noticed they had a camera, like you could see yourself in the self-checkout thing. Then they got rid of that because that must have freaked some people out. But they were trying to let you know that, you're being watched, I guess. I don't know what that was for. That was just weird. But maybe that's what it was. But they also have microphones, or have had microphones all over the store, so if people would comment on items. And a lot of this stuff wasn't so much nefarious, but it ends up in the hands of these various groups. So in other words, if you're commenting, originally the idea is like someone's looking at the aisle going, I prefer this brand over the other one, and that thing, or, the price of this has gotten too high. I don't think I'm going to buy that. See, that's all being recorded and being utilized for them to better sell to you. You see? Marketing, right? A lot of this technology, obviously, by these industrialists, is what I'm trying to tell you, who are in charge. That's why it's a corporatocracy, not a government anymore, right? But this information was freely made available to all of these bureaucratic, alphabet agencies. So now they've created this mosaic of not just you, your extended family, your friends, your community, but the entire country. And you're going, that's an incredible amount of data. Yeah, but you can hold a thing like this, and it could have 3 terabytes of storage on it, this tiny, right? They've got chips that are running at speeds, that processing power that is unfrickin' believable. And like I say, anything that they're announcing to the public that I'm telling you right now is like, this isn't breaking news. All right. These things have been in development. Who knows what, and DARPA. I mean, come on. DARPA created the internet before most of you were born, basically. Most people on the internet were born. Like I said, I was using the internet before a lot of people were born. I was using the internet in 1985. So that's the part that people don't get. And, it would be laughable in a sense if I were that type of person, but I don't laugh at people, Be nice, it's like I say. But it's foolhardy to assume that you can, that you don't see the world the way it really is. And that's what I mean by everything you know is wrong. And you don't know what you don't know. Right? And like I say, when someone says save America or build back better or great reset, the answer is that shirt up there, then what? Then what? You see? Go back to something like 5 years ago that was like a total disaster. There are so many things that are out of control right now that politics has no control whatsoever over them. It's like dressing, right? It's like set dressing. They can, they could elect somebody and they could start building the wall. It's, by the time that would happen in 2024 or whatever the heck it would be, there will have been, a couple million people. I mean, maybe 5 extra million people like loose. Who knows, carrying what diseases, aligned with what cartels, what gangs, right? Causing what kind of strain on the safety net system, built for people who've paid into it with job, from their paychecks. See what I mean? It's too late. And people say, well, why are you so pessimistic? It's like, I'm not pessimistic. I'm pessimistic about the big picture. I'm a realist. Western civilization has fallen. This is the former United States. It's not a constitutional republic. There is no First Amendment. And they could change a few laws here and there and do a few things, this, that, the other, but it's not going to stop this freight train of totalitarianism that's coming down, straight at you. So more power to them if there's a movement that people make life better, right? But I still don't see, and I didn't see in the past 6 years in the previous administration, anyone do anything about those 40,000 people a week dying of preventable illnesses. And I'm not talking about that plague. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes and, obesity, heart problems, and things related to high carbs and added sugars and high fructose corn syrup and all that kind of stuff. Additives, food additives, and stuff like that. See, when someone says non-GMO, that doesn't mean there's no high fructose corn syrup in it. When it says all natural, organic, that doesn't mean there's no high fructose corn syrup in it. Because those things are all natural, and they haven't been, genetically modified. But that totally ruin the human body and make you susceptible to all sorts of things. Right? Nothing was done about the 2,000 average murders per week, which I talk about on this show almost every day, that most go unsolved. You see what I mean? Health and happiness. Look back at that show that I did a week or so ago. Right? That's all that really matters to people is health and happiness. And that's what you want to ask your politician, your cult of personality leader, fearless leader. Say, Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, right? What are you going to do about the health and happiness of the average person living in this country? What are you going to do to improve the quality of life, which is health and happiness for the average person living in this country? Forgive their student loan? That's a financial matter. Very short-lived. They'll fill the gap. The moment that you have extra coin in your pocket, they're just going to raise the price on something else to fill that void. Just look at how the prices of everything have gone up. People had some extra money. They say consumers actually a lot of people had extra money still left over from the lockdowns. I didn't realize that. I figured most people would have been spendthrifts, because especially since Amazon and Walmart and places like that had like banner years. But apparently a lot of people, have cash, supposedly. I guess people who've made money on the stock market going up and maybe even some of the cryptos. But be that as it may, the idea is now we have this like hyperinflation. And so the cost of rents are up, the cost of housing is up, the cost of everything's going up. Like I said yesterday, I wanted to buy these corrugated plastic things to cover my raised beds to keep rodents from getting into my lettuce and chard and kale, right? Because it's just a matter of time before they get wind of the smell of that stuff. That stuff's growing well, especially with that rain we had last night. That stuff grows fast. It grows like weeds, right? And so their attention quickly is going to be drawn away from the bird feeder, and they're going to start experimenting, like, smelling that stuff, going, hey, there's something down here we can munch on, healthy stuff. You see? Well, they were charging, we saw it here if you were on the show yesterday, $23 a sheet. I think I bought that stuff before for like $8 a sheet, or it was less than 10. I know that. So these prices of things have more than doubled. It's the same at the grocery store. There's certain items that have like pretty much doubled in price. Other things that have gone up about, anywhere from 25, 33 to 50%. But there's a lot of things the price has literally doubled. Imagine that. And then everyone, and it's a chain reaction, it's like a domino effect. So, if I were a business person and I had to do this, then I would have to, and I was selling lettuce, say, or I was using it because it was for my store or selling it to some merchant, I would have to charge more for my lettuce because I had to charge more to secure my lettuce from pests. So the person buying that, the restaurant buying my fresh organic lettuce, because that's what a garden is in your backyard. It's pure, that's organic, right? Not when it says organic in a bag, it's not organic, it's processed, right? It's called processed organic. Well, so that they have to charge more for their salad, right? And then that person that goes in there to have lunch, right, is now spending more money, so they need more. They've got to charge, they need a higher salary, or they need more money, so they've got to charge more for their products. It's just this cascading, snowballing, domino, whatever you want to call. And so that's runaway inflation. It's hyperinflation. And so there's no stopping that. And there's never been an attempt to that. And meanwhile, like I say, the quality of life for the average person, I forgot to do the old thing.
Another hour.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, not what you don't.
I wish it wouldn't end with that don't, which kind of like pushes the woofer a little bit. Got to work at that. I say that all the time, but I don't do it. So that's the situation that we're in. And, I could harp on that and go on. And you've heard me say this a million times before. And it's like yesterday's show. It's the same old thing, right? So I played solitaire again yesterday. So today is going to be, I'm either going to be like getting some kind of cup or measuring cup. I have to see if I have an extra one of those because I don't want to ruin a good one. But I'm going to have to. I guess I could buy another one at the dollar store. I'll have to put down measuring cup on my list. Measuring cup. Because that's like the easiest thing to scoop water out of something because it has that little, nozzle, not nozzle, but, indent on the end, and there's a handle so you could scoop in the water, dump it in the bucket, scoop in the water, dump in the bucket. And that's what I'm going to have to do. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to use one out of my cupboard that I've been using to measure things. But I don't do a lot of baking anymore. Trying to eat healthy, stay. I still haven't found like any concrete evidence, like it's like what I say, the internet's broken, where I still read things about healthy things, to keep your body healthy. I don't want to have an operation on gallbladder, gallstones, and all this stuff, right? And I still find every time I'm looking for what you can eat or you shouldn't eat or, things to avoid, things you should have, healthy things, I still keep seeing these whole grain, oats and whole grain foods listed. But then you'll find other things that'll be like avoid whole grain. That's why I stopped eating cereals and stuff. Now, I know they were all high in carbs and they had added sugars, the cereals themselves. But I mean, I was eating like Quaker oats for the longest time, whole grain oats, and like natural too, like unprocessed kind. And putting blueberries in there, which I always was told blueberries, blackberries, and things are good for you. But like, and then there's these things that say blueberries are like high sugar. And you don't know what you don't know. Everything you know is wrong. The government agencies that we paid money to, taxes for years and years and years, will not talk about quality of life or health and nutrition. They'll just talk about putting something in your arm or something weird like that, right? Or washing your frickin' hands, like who doesn't wash their hands, right? And the idea is if you got a cold or something like that, stay at home. Forget social distancing. Just distance. Stay in the house. I was taught that when I was a kid. You're staying home from school today because you're sick. Right? You see what I mean? It's like they tell, I mean, people that dumb, that what they tell us are things that are like so common sense that it's ridiculous. Right? But they won't tell us what the ideal diet is for longevity because they don't want us living long, man. They don't want us to live, period. They want us to die off. I'm convinced of it. All right? Convinced of it. The morning show. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It doesn't look like it's raining just yet. So, but it's an 85%. It just went up to 85% chance at 7. So, 61 degrees outside, though. So the heat's not going to go on. But that's also a problem because that means the house isn't going to dry out. But yeah, it looks like we're going to have a couple hours of rain. Mother, I'll tell you, you can't win.
Oh, no.
I know, you're right.
Good morning.
Good morning, folks. Same old thing here. Be nice. Go visit TonyCaravanLive.com. ROCKFLUX.com is easier. Get Get my books in print, Then What, Codex. Those are my latest 2 books out of 10. They're available on Amazon. You know, there's links to my clothing line, which I think you should get. Most of this stuff costs less than $20. The hat I'm wearing, I think, is only $17 or something weird like that. And there's all kinds of stuff under accessories. Check it out. There's different sayings. Get some of the stuff. It's all good quality stuff. I've tested it. If you go to Great Solar Stuff, it's not about solar panels alone. There are these power backup things that I test, and I've been testing them here. They run the on-air light behind, which you've seen behind me here at the show, and Christmas lights, and back in December. You're going to need that stuff, you know? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. Hope your day's drier than mine, and you're not like scooping out water out of cat litter boxes into a bucket and dumping them out a window like some medieval, ridiculous existence. Though we're heading, it is neo-feudalism right now, so might as well do what they